Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Crime Centric. This being a show where I talk about crime dramas that I watch. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of Ray Donovan. Another great episode of Ray Donovan. A lot of stuff went down this episode. Bunchy just cannot catch a break, for instance. Obviously, Harriet's telling him, though, get your money together. Bunchy's like, yo, I got like a mil, 1.2 mil in cash. And then Harriet's like, what? This ain't no drug deal. You better go get a cashier's check for that. And because Bunchy was hungry, he stopped at his sub shop. I was so curious what that whole like robbing the place thing was going to happen. I was like, oh, Ray's going to get caught up in it. He's going to handle it like a boss or something. It's like, nah. And the moment I saw Bunchy there, I was like, wait, don't tell me. And Bunchy's looking at the sub place. I'm like, don't, Bunchy, don't. He goes there and gets freaking robbed, dude. That sucks. 1.2 million gone. Just like that. And it's so ironic because he's talking to like Terry at the end of the episode, and he's talking about the fact of the matter is like there's, Teresa's off with that other new luchador on the team and everything, and then him, his name and everything being the Shamrock, and he's talking about like he feels like he doesn't have that much luck, and it's like there's that whole luchador thing not working out, him trying to do this business deal with Harriet, it doesn't work out, kind of blows up in his face. It's like for Bunchy, it's just like I can't win anywhere, and it sucks, dude. Especially because he's trying to tell that cop lady, and she's like, oh yeah, we've been looking out for your 1.2 million in a baby bag. It's like, dude, that sucks. Because an interesting thing too is, I thought it was going to go down a little bit differently because the nanny was there and she saw everything, and Bunchy's like putting the money in the bag. He's like, yo, I'm doing this for a real estate deal. She's like, I'm not going to judge. It's none of my business. So I was thinking like, is she going to like turn around, tell her family or something and rob Bunchy? But it's like, no, just. I guess ironic would be the word. I guess honestly, just crappy luck is ultimately what it comes down to a Bunchy situation. That sucks so much. And then on the flip side of things, since I brought him up, Terry, we see that he meets Damon's dad in this episode, which apparently, like, he's never really talked about, but his dad's in prison, his dad's just getting out, and he's giving his dad money. Terry doesn't appreciate it because he knows what it's like to have a criminal dad. Really, it's like, can you really say... I guess arguably you could say Terry's like, he knows that situation better than anyone, because it's like, well, because their dad was a criminal, that basically, ultimately, they kind of, like I've said in the past, the Donovans are kind of fuck up, so it's like, for them, it's like, this is all, like... I guess he doesn't want Damon to kind of go down that same route as him. It's like you grow up with a family member that's a criminal, most likely kind of fall back on you, because it seems like he's trying to take care of his dad. He's giving his dad money and stuff like that. It doesn't look like it's a happy reunion type of situation. It looks like almost like here, I don't know if it's because he's standing up for his dad. It's not even like a situation of like, oh, here's money, stay out of my life. It's like, here, oh, he's my dad, I gotta look out for him and everything. But I don't know, it's not like he looks enthusiastic to see his dad. But hopefully we get some more diving deeper into that going forward. But I guess it seems like the story's going, like, obviously Terry's kind of stepped in and kind of been a father figure for him, and I'm sure that's going to play a role in the story of like, yo, you're not my dad, my real dad is here, stop trying to play my dad just because things going wrong with you and your wife. So well, your whole family situation is kind of a little wonky right now, so I'm very interested to see where that all goes. You just get the feeling like it's not going to go anywhere good. He's going to end up using Damon, and he's going to get like mixed up in something bad. That's just how these things usually roll. So, but what I thought was kind of interesting in this episode also is the whole situation with the actor Jay, and played by Brian White. Interestingly enough, I think his character's last name is White too. I thought that was kind of interesting. But basically, the whole thing with him and his sensei, him like accidentally decapitating his sensei, and then Mickey helping dispose of the body by slicing it up, and poor Daryl's got a weak stomach and he's just throwing up everywhere. It's like, that sucks. But the moment things kind of played out the way they did, like Mickey's on a boat with him alone, and it's like, oh, we're tossing this, like the body parts in cement buckets. Legitimately in my head, like I'm thinking, that almost seemed like some Dexter level stuff. Granted, Dexter did the whole like trash bag things. But Showtime show and another Showtime show is just kind of interesting to me. That was kind of like, oh, let's go out into the water and dump body parts. That immediately my brain went to Dexter. So, nevertheless, I figured he was going to do something, but the moment he helped him with that whole situation. It clicked in my head. I was like, is he going to do what I think he's going to do? And in fact, he does it. He blackmails him. He's like, oh yeah, I got this script that no one's going to really pay any attention to unless I get a big time celebrity behind it, like a big time actor like you, for instance. Oh man, you had this whole deal with my son. That's fine and dandy. But me, my price in this whole situation is it comes separate from my son. It's like, oh yeah, we're going to hold on to the security footage. It's safer in our hands. Like, oh, you go out and enjoy your day, pretend like none of this happened. It's like Mickey's got you by the balls. It's like that's the thing when you work with Mickey, with like whatever the circumstances may be, you're gonna walk away screwed because Mickey's always gonna want a little slice of the pie. He's got his own motives, and I love that his motives is just basically getting his movie made. It's not something nefarious like, oh, we're gonna do. Like, it's legitimately turning his screenplay into a movie. Because I love that he meets with the dude Marty trying to pay him off and everything. He's like, what are you telling me? All right. And just slaps him. He's like, you slapped me. And he does it 2 more times. I was like, okay, that's so interesting. I just can't believe that this is all blackmailing the dude so he'll star in your movie so you can help get your movie made. I just think that's kind of interesting that that's going to play out like that. But once again, the show can't be Ray Donovan can't be Ray Donovan without screw ups. Like I mentioned with the whole Terry situation and Damon situation, I feel like there's going to be some wonky areas with the whole Damon situation. Definitely feel like in this situation, like Jay's going to try and wiggle his way out of it. I just think things aren't going to go the way Mickey wants them to. The moment he gets a chance, I think he's going to try and screw over Mickey. I don't know, man. Cause I feel like if he's going to go after anyone, he's most likely going to go after Daryl because Daryl didn't really do much during the whole situation. Because it's like, oh, he's like, you talking about the old man's the one doing all the work. You over here with your punk ass stomach or something like that. He said, so your weak ass stomach or something like that. So I don't know. I think given the opportunity, you back someone in a corner, even if, because he was like tearful. It's like, oh, it's an accident and everything. It's like, the question is, why is your sensei letting you train with weapons and stuff like that anyway? I mean, he played it off like it's an accident. Maybe he straight up killed his sensei and just needed someone to cover it up. I am curious to know what Ray would have done in that particular situation. I mean, Mickey was like, let's handle this situation by ourselves because, Ray's got so much on his plate. And talking about that particular, you have Frank at the end of the episode. It's like, I need you. Like, I didn't know. Like, it didn't really click in my head. He was like, when he was telling like Mickey to take care of the situation, it didn't really correlate in my head. He was telling Mickey to kill Avi. It was like, ooh. But Avi shows up at this place high, like at his like actual house and stuff like that. And it's kind of crazy. It's like, once again, like what happened between season 4 and now for Avi to be off on his own? I mean, I guess like, let's not forget, like Avi got the crap beat out of him last season. I mean, he kind of got payback at the end, but maybe he kind of fell off the deep end. I mean, I don't know. Because like I said, it seemed like Ray and him had a good relationship. I mean, it seems like they were on par again in season 3, but maybe something happened in between, during this whole circumstance with Abby. But once again, because Lena had said like, oh, she missed Avi, but it didn't seem like it was like he got fired or let go. Like either Avi's just kind of dealing his own thing. Maybe it has something to do with his mom. Cause, his mom's kind of like his best friend. So it's like maybe something happened to her. He just fell off the deep end and it just kind of has been spiraling ever since. I'm very interested to find out about that, like why Avi's because this is so like not Avi doing the things he's doing. Not unless Frank is lying for whatever reason. But what reason would he have to be lying? I mean, why would he push the Donovans to do all this anyway? Because specifically he's going after Mickey to ask him to do it. Because I think it's kind of interesting that he isn't going to Ray. I mean, granted, he's just trying to force Mickey to do it so Frank doesn't have to do it himself, doesn't have to get his hands dirty. He's trying to be on the straight and narrow, even though he's kind of like easily the most corruptible person in this whole scenario of this series, just because he's constantly getting mixed up and stuff. And when he tries to be a good cop, things just don't tend to work out for him. And so he still ends up being a dirty cop, which Ray and them kind of help him in the sense of like, hey, I mean, the Donovan family is the reason why he has the good career that he does, because if it wasn't for them, he'd still be where he was before, so. But, Mickey's not all about killing Avi, but Frank's threatening the whole, like, Las Vegas situation, between Mickey and his girl, like, how that whole situation played out, planning on using that against him if he doesn't go through with this. So it's like, yeah, you got to do it soon. So that's definitely interesting. We got a little more of a look at the situation with Abby and Ray. And it's kind of interesting, too, that it's like the oncologist they went to was the one that Ezra went to. It's like, to me, I guess he's a really good oncologist, but it's like Ray should have known better to actually pick him, because even Abby's like, oh yeah, he was Ezra's, huh? He's good, huh? Yeah. How did that end? It's like, well, I feel like you should have picked someone differently. Like immediately, you knew if he had a connection to Ezra, you should have been like, yeah, I got a great guy, but I guess like anyone else is like second tier compared to this guy. So it's like, I mean, for Ray, he's pulling out all the stops, and that, I mean, that's kind of what we're dealing with in the episode. But I'll get to that soon enough. And he's like trying to be like, I figured as much. Like, I was like, okay, so maybe something definitely, when he was telling the doctor, like, hey, I need you to do whatever it takes. But the guy's like, hey, just spend time with your family, go on a trip, spend time with your kids. And he's like, what the F does that mean? So it's like, I don't know. Like, combined with the fact is of what we learned from Bridget, because Bridget was sleeping with the dude Jake and everything, but that kind of goes, ooh, that sucks that you did that. When we find out the truth about this whole situation, what in particular Ray did to Jake to make like Bridget say what she did. Like, what was that, back in the first episode? Turns out he was on a trial for like a surgery, but he got meningitis, so he got pulled off the list. She's saying it might have been Ray doing that to put Abby on the list. And the whole reason why she got mixed up with him is because her mom died, and it's like, well, her mom, like, Abby must have died before she could get the surgery. So she was thinking like, okay, maybe he was put back on the list or whatever. And so when she looked at like I don't know whether it's like she knew about him getting meningitis to be pushed off the list, or she met him because she looked at who got kicked off the list, or maybe who took her mom's spot, like who was removed from the list and put back on. I don't know how she really figured it out that it was this particular person, but like she went to him because she was thinking like, okay, she'll come find him. He have gotten a surgery. He's super healthy and everything, but it's like, no, he's still sick and everything, which makes her feel bad. That's why she went to, like, you know, now that's why she kind of stayed around out of guilt, because it's like, yeah, she didn't do anything, but it was still her dad doing it. But even then, her dad did it out of love because he cared about her mom. But it's like, it doesn't change the fact of what he did, because ultimately it was for nothing, because Abby ended up dying anyway. Once again, the circumstances make it seem like she didn't even get the surgery because she died before she could. But what makes it worse is because Bridget got close to him, had sex with him. It seems like there was something building there in that relationship. And now it's like he finds out the truth, and it's like, it pisses him off. So I'm curious to know, like I said, like, what were the circumstances? Did he ever get back on the list and got surgery, or did the meningitis still stay? It seems like the meningitis kind of stayed, and he still got, I mean, I think he still got it. Like, I can't remember what the exact conversation was when they met up before. He might still have it. I'm not sure. So, and now Bridget's like sad about that whole situation because like she messed up. She's like, I should have told you from the beginning. I was like, probably shouldn't have gotten too close to him in that sense. Probably that kind of sticks the dagger in a little deeper. It adds more salt to the wound, essentially. So once again, another situation that you're kind of like, man, how is that going to come back to bite the Donovans in the ass? And you know it is, because it's something like that family cannot catch a break. Even in this one episode, they are constantly getting screwed from every front. Because now Ray's also working with Sam again, because Tom has some stuff on her about her whole situation because she got drunk. And her daughter, Ainsley, ended up dying in the car accident she caused, and Tom covered it up. But she's asking Ray to kind of deal with that whole situation. So, but Ray got visited earlier in the episode, which we don't know what that circumstance is about. So maybe it's a situation of like, maybe Ray's kind of a plant. He's been sit there to kind of quote unquote work with Sam, when in actuality it's to build evidence. Because they were telling Ray to kind of steer clear of her anyway. So it's like, did you throw him back into the lion's den? Because like that's something we kind of skipped over. He showed up at Ray's place, and then they just skipped over. And next time we see Ray, he's talking to Sam. So it's like, I think there's some kind of double play action going there, and they're sitting him in to kind of get some dirt on her, or for whatever reason. So. Because, you know, it seems like Sam's kind of like, in their eyes, it's like Sam's kind of got her personal wars to fight. Is kind of the word that was kind of tossed around in like the first episode and everything. So I'm very curious to see how that all plays out. It's kind of interesting too, because this whole Abby situation, I appreciate how they're doing it too. It's not like a straightforward, like oh, when we come back to the past, it's like the right next series of events. It's like they're bouncing all over the place. Because last episode, it was like when Abby was very much sick, her hair was falling out and everything. But this is like right after Abby kind of found out, like, it's like, oh, hearing the voices and everything. It's like this basically like the past events in episode 2. These events take place like right after that. And those past events in episode 3 were like further on down the timeline. So it's kind of like, it's definitely bouncing all over the place. I thought it was going to be consistently like, here are these past events in this episode and so on and so forth, but it seems like they're going to be bouncing all around the timeline, at the very least for now. Maybe they did that specifically because it coincides with the story with Jake talking about the whole, like, him being on that trial list for that surgery and everything. So maybe that was more specifically. I'm just curious to see will they kind of do that for the rest of the season or not too, because you have Ray in a situation where he's trying to move on to. Once again, it's like he's haunted by the past of everything that was said and done, and now. Because, like, this whole situation, it's like, you see him here with Abby. Like I said, this is before what the past events of episode 3, which we know in the past, well, Abby was very, very sick, definitely reaching the end. He's off having sex with Natalie. And now we see, like, it's like, oh, he's right by her side and everything. And it's so sad to see that contract, like, because you're like, oh, you see him here with her, telling her not to give up. And she's like, nah, I'm not giving up. Takes the bat, starts smashing out the place, and he's got a smile on his face. Because she's like, I want to make it at least a Christmas, or New Year's. And he's like, don't talk like that. You're going to fight this. You're going to win. You're going to live. So stop talking. Don't you dare quit on me. We're in this. And you see that moment of like, yeah, let's fight this. And then on top of that, like, eventually he ended up cheating on her with Natalie. And it's like I said, it's the good and the bad, because with every situation, even if it's just a situation, even if you look at it from the story context of like, oh yeah, this is a sweet moment, but ultimately, she died. But it's soured because he slept with Natalie, and it's like, it makes things worse. I get it, you're sad and everything's messed up, but that just ruins it. It's like, you couldn't just be you said there was no more messing up and everything. And it was almost, I guess, like, supposed to kind of fit that narrative too. Like, did they do that on purpose? Because there's that nurse when they were at the hospital or whatever, and they're about to get on the elevator. She's like talking on the phone, like, yeah, don't, like, he messes up over and over and over again. Basically, it sounds like there's someone that she's talking to, like that said person's significant other, whatever, constantly cheats. And it's like, it's like they're screaming about Abby and Ray, and maybe that's kind of like almost like reflecting last week's episode's reveals and stuff like that with this. I don't know. Maybe that's on purpose. Maybe that's just me reading too much into it. But nevertheless, but on top of all this, like, you have Ray packing up all this Abby stuff because he looked at, the jersey that Natalie had from last week's episode, and she has a photo up note saying thank you. He just gets rid of all, like, Abby's clothes, packing them up in boxes, and fixes up the wall, and he's selling the place. And then you have Deb being like, oh yeah, you want to tell her? And he's like, for what? What do you mean for what? And he's just like, sell the place. I guess she's talking specifically about Bridget. It's the only person I can assume. So it's like, I guess for him, it's like, no, like, who cares? Because it's like, why not tell Connor either? So it's got to be someone else that she's referencing. Maybe Bridget was like the most like for selling the place or something. So maybe that's why specifically talking about her. Or once again, maybe they're not talking about her. Maybe they're talking about someone else. Maybe it could have been referencing Harriet, because Harriet was the one that kind of I think she was the one pushing for him to sell the place. So most likely it might have been the Harriet that she was referencing. And it's like, who cares? For what? Who cares about all this stuff? Just sell the house. Ray's just kind of done. So it does make you wonder, where is Ray going to stay from now on? I guess he's going to get a little place, or maybe he's going to start living in an office or something like that. Like I said, a very, 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 very good episode. And I'm very interested to see what goes on in the next episode. Do note there is no episode next week. There will be one the week after next. So keep that in mind. But really, that's all I want to talk about in this episode. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.